Hi guys, so before I start this video, I just want to apologize. I noticed a comment on my last video of somebody saying, let us know if you need support to get better equipment. I'm not working with great equipment right now. I'm pretty happy with my video situation. I do have a lamp that I use sometimes, but I would like to get a Blue Yeti microphone at some point, just not now, mainly because I'm busy. Anyways, I'm sorry. You'll see some technological improvements. So as of the recording of this video, Marcus Dib Jensen uploaded a video about asexuality. I actually made a video about the Christian response to asexuality. I did not want to talk about the secular response to asexuality.
Marcus is trans, so for this platform, I am going to be using preferred pronouns.
So Marcus decided to make a video about asexuality because asexuals, if you participate on the right social media, asexuals are very vocal about how
asexuality is really queer, and like you can totally have a fully functioning sex drive and a high libido and enjoy having intercourse with people and still be asexual.
Like, that's a thing. And I have my own thoughts on that, but I generally don't like to complain because I don't want to make asexuality a part of my identity, because my identity is in Christ. My identity is not my sexuality or my gender identity.
But
sorry, but Marcus doesn't really know what he's talking about. Like, he saw this community and was like, hey, I'm gonna say something about it. Like, let's just get into it. Let's get into it.
I'm not done with you yet. I kind of like you.
Perspectives to give, both as a Christian
Transgender talking points.
Something I've never talked about on my channel is asexuality. The old-fashioned definition of asexuality is people who don't want to have sex.
Let's actually look up the old definition of asexuality.
I don't like what I originally said, but asexuality traditionally meant not or without sexual function. So basically plants that reproduced on their own or organisms that had no sex organs. Nowhere was the definition ever people who didn't want to have sex, as Marcus claims. Now you would assume, based on the modern definition, that because asexuality is lack of sexual attraction, it means that people who are asexual wouldn't want to have sex. But again, that has never been the official definition for it, and I wish Marcus had been a bit more informed before sitting down and making a video.
So homosexuality is being attracted to the same sex, heterosexuality is being attracted to the opposite sex, bisexuality, both sexes, asexuality, no sex. Now how does that manifest?
Why would gay men have sex with women if they're not sexually attracted to women?
like, why would they do that?
You can argue that, oh well, as long as they're not attracted, they're like still gay, but why would you do that? Many homosexual people will choose to engage in intercourse with the opposite sex to either conform to society.
There are two scenarios where a lesbian would have sex with a member of the opposite sex. That sex she doesn't want to be having. The first one is where she's wanting to fit in with everybody else. The second scenario is rape.
Basically, if you're gay and enjoying that encounter with a member of the opposite sex, I would question your gayness. And if you are asexual and enjoying that encounter with anybody, I would also question your asexuality.
So let's watch some TikToks and try to be more educated on this topic.
Asexuality is a spectrum. As a whole, we are not sexually attracted to people. Some people are in certain situations because, again, spectrum, but not in general. I'm not really at all, ever. I don't think so. Never think I've experienced it. I'm not really at all, ever. I don't think so. Never think I've experienced it. But anyway, libido is a separate thing from sexual attraction.
Sexual attraction has nothing to do with libido.
It does not. It does not. Like, for example, heaven forbid, a woman gets raped by a man, and when he rapes her, her body, like, accepts it, because humans are wired for sexuality. She's not sexually attracted to the man, but she still has libido, right? Like, would you argue that this woman who's getting raped by this monster is sexually attracted to him? No. If her body responds to it, does that mean she was asking for it and that she enjoyed it? No. Because libido is separate from sexual attraction.
You might not have known about asexuality. Asexuality refers to a lack of sexual attraction, not a lack of attraction altogether.
One thing I actually do appreciate about the asexual community is the distinction between sexual attraction and other forms of attraction, such as aesthetic, romantic, sensual attraction. For a lot of asexuals, their coming out story was very confusing, and not so for me. I've always known that I found any kind of sexual encounter repulsive ever since I first learned about it when I was 9. And when I was a teenager, my best friend asked me if I was asexual, but I responded,
I can't be because I have had crushes on people in my life.
But then when I actually looked up that, like, romantic attraction is separate from sexual attraction, and everything made sense to me. Because romantic attraction is a desire for more social intimacy, as opposed to sexual intimacy. For some asexual people who are like, I don't know if I'm asexual because...
Sometimes I do have fantasies about sex, or sometimes I am sexually attracted to people, sometimes I'm not.
Like, you're not asexual. It's really not that confusing and also not even that big of a deal. If you are so confused because your sex drive doesn't seem to be functioning at all, talk to a doctor, don't talk to social media.
Let's have a hypothetical scenario where you have a couple and the woman is asexual and the man is not. So they're talking about like,
Hey, do you want to do something?
And then she said,
Oh sure, just so you know I am asexual.
So the partner responds,
Wait, so does that mean you don't want to do it?
And then she says,
No, I do want to do it. I'm just not sexually attracted to you, but I would be totally into doing that.
like at that point, if you enjoy having sex, why call yourself asexual? At that point, the distinction does not need to be made and it is only unnecessarily hurting people's feelings.
And it is only unnecessarily hurting people's feelings.
So I don't think that somebody who is sex positive should be calling himself asexual, because that has literally nothing to do with his life. It doesn't affect his life at all.
Want to have a companion without having sex? If that's you, I mean, cool. I don't have a problem with that at all, of course not.
Hey babe, we can be in a companionate relationship now. Marcus approves.
Just a reminder that you can find people aesthetically pleasing and still be asexual.
This is cringe.
I can't stand asexual community and their dragons and their D&D and their garlic bread.
Marcus is going to talk about this in a bit, and I partially agree.
Asexuals love to be in this childlike mindset. I've never been interested in fantasy. I don't relate to the dragons thing. I don't relate to like, oh, we're all gonna invade Denmark and oh, we worship garlic bread. I'm just existing.
I would like to have a relationship one day.
I just hope it's with somebody who has zero sex drive.
I'm not into the whole asexual culture. It's incredibly cringe.
Asexual. You can be attracted to someone and still be asexual.
That is true.
You can want to be in a relationship and still be asexual.
That is true.
You can do the activity and still be asexual. And if you are not...
I mean, you are, but like, why would you? There's this person on YouTube
Who I don't want to mention by name.
is a trans woman and also identifies as a lesbian, but has mentioned in multiple live streams that this person does enjoy sex with men sometimes. So, identifies as a lesbian, but is functionally bisexual. You're not a lesbian.
You're also not a lesbian because you're a dude.
But you're also not a lesbian.
I love how these activists want to be in a minority group. However, the definitions of these terms are so broad that most people can relate to them. You can't be in a minority group if that minority group is, first of all, made up most of the time, but also something that most people can relate
Marcus,
to.
first of all, everything is made up. Second of all, I'd like to know what exactly you believe a minority group is. For example, a lot of people would consider women a minority group even though women make up more than half the world's population. One thing I do agree with you is that words have definition. If something does not fit the definition, then it does not fall under the same category. What a lot of these people don't seem to understand, a lot of these people who get crushes very rarely or feel different in some way in the way they relate and are attracted to people, it's okay to not be asexual. You are not any less of a human being if you do not fit the asexual definition. It's okay not to be asexual.
I did ask you all on my Instagram, what did you think about asexuality?
I answered that.
And let's read some of them today.
He didn't
Someone
read
wrote,
it.
not LGBT. I totally agree. LGBT is lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transsexual. That's my opinion.
So, I also cannot comment on what should the definition of the LGBT community mean. I just call it the L+ community most of the time. High Decadence has a great video
It's a short, concise, very good video.
that I highly recommend you check out called My Unpopular Opinions with the LGBT Community. And he talks about how he does not believe that the T belongs in the L+ community because it was originally about gay rights.
My next unpopular opinion is that gay pride, or rather just pride, as it's referred as in the modern day, was never about gender. It was simply about homosexual rights, specifically rights for gays and lesbians, aka same-sex rights. Pride was an aftermath movement of the Stonewall riots that took place in New York City on June 28th to July 3rd of 1969 that was a pivotal moment that gained gay and lesbian people the right to live our lives freely without fear of prosecution that the gays and lesbians of the decades prior had to face. Frankly, I don't ever say that phrase, because as far as I'm concerned, anything after the B should have not been included in the first place, because the whole point of the LGB was about sexuality, not about gender. And finally, the A for asexual. This may be a hot take, but asexual people do not face discrimination. You may have some people who don't believe in asexuality, but what I mean is that they never had to face any legal repercussions or legal discrimination. In short, there is no place in the world where you'd be murdered or incarcerated for being asexual, unlike homosexuality.
I don't agree that asexuality is a thing. I think it's a thing that some people, for some reason, don't want to have sex.
Okay, I'd like to hear about
this. But I don't see it as sexuality. It's quite the opposite. It's the lack of sexuality, and I don't think it's that deep, and it has, again, nothing to do with LGBT.
Okay, the 4 sexualities. The opposite, the same, both, neither. Easy.
Someone wrote complex trauma, and that's a thing. I mean, if you've experienced...
Okay, so the complex trauma one.
Yes, you can find yourself repulsed by,
or unaffected by,
or afraid of sexual interactions
due to being sexually abused. But you can have the same aversion without having ever been sexually abused. Like myself, I have never been abused. I've just been like this my entire life.
I am not above saying, yeah, potentially I am a late bloomer, potentially I will grow out of it.
But I am about old enough to know who I would be sexually attracted to at this point.
Trauma.
So I don't like the idea
body,
that it's
sexuality.
only
of course that will
due
affect
to
your mental
trauma.
health, and that would affect the way that you look at sex. Of course it would, and it's completely valid. That's the only time I'm gonna say that word. It's valid if you don't want to have sex due to trauma.
Valid
if you're offended when I say
Wait a minute, it sounds as if Marcus is saying the only reason you're allowed to be asexual is if you've had complex trauma, which is very similarly the exact same thing Riley Dennett said about lesbians who aren't willing to date trans women.
This one is interesting. I used to identify as such for years. Turns out I was just...
Oof, I don't like this. I used to identify as such for years. Turns out I was just young and dysphorical. I don't know if that means you transitioned to no longer be asexual. I do know that there's an asexual detransitioner on YouTube who did transition because she didn't know who she was attracted to and didn't realize that her issue was that she was asexual.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I didn't have sex for years because I was too dysphoric about my body. Why would I share it and use it with another person?
I feel like you can be disgusted by your own body but still find other people's bodies sexually desirable. Sexuality and
if
mental
you don't want to have sex, something's wrong. Let's not stigmatize that. Let's not shame on the people who don't have the desire.
Whoa, 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 whoa. First you say,
people who are asexual have something wrong with them.
But then you're like,
but we shouldn't shame them.
But like, you literally just said there's something wrong with us.
But we as human beings, adult human beings, we naturally want to have sex. Period. Sex and masturbation is really good for you. It's healthy.
Is
it's
it?
healthy
Is it though?
mentally,
No,
but also
like
physically.
seriously, is it though? Is it though?
You can't deny.
If you don't, you're less likely to get STDs, you're less likely to get pregnant. Is it really healthier to do all that? Like, where are you getting your sources? Just say.
Honest, deep, but spot on. I just didn't allow myself to have sexual desire, but it was there. I just wanted to stay a child. I'm 100% positive that this person is not the only one.
Nobody should be pressuring you to learn how to enjoy sex again.
And there are some reasons to that. Looking into this asexual community, a lot of these people either admit to have an autistic diagnosis.
That's true.
Or
so I'll admit, while there's an overlap between asexuality and autism, asexuality is not a symptom of autism. I myself probably qualify for an autism diagnosis, and I think that causes me to perceive intercourse in a very scientific way that sort of repulses me. I'm also very sensitive to tactile scenarios, so that also contributes to why I would be repulsed by it. However, for as many asexual autistics, you'll find probably more teleophilic autistic people. And also plenty of asexual people are not autistic.
how about calling it what it is? Symptoms of autism, or symptoms of sexual trauma? Is there something wrong with having autism? Is there something wrong with being a survivor of sexual assault or anything?
Is there something wrong with being asexual?
A lot of you say that you don't buy it, and you guys are just regular people out there, and if you don't get it or you don't buy it, it says a lot.
The small number of people who follow you, who are just a fraction of the people who follow you on YouTube, which is, roughly around 40,000 subscribers, a big number, way more than me, not that much in the long run. Because a few of them say they don't buy it, it means asexuality is not a valid orientation to have. Within my even smaller sphere of followers, I could very easily ask, what do you think about transgenderism? I could very easily have people saying, oh, gender dysphoria is just a product of trauma. Gender dysphoria is just a product of autism. Gender dysphoria doesn't actually exist.
To ask normal people, what do you think of this? What do you know about this stuff? And you would be surprised how little people know.
Bruh, I could just as easily say the exact same thing about gender dysphoria.
I'd say if you feel literally nothing, it's a hormonal imbalance.
Yes, if you feel nothing, it probably is a hormone imbalance, but...
Maybe we don't consent to having hormones shoved down our throats so that we fit your definition of what a normal human is supposed to be.
By the way, Marcus, I'm sorry if this video came across as, like, accusatory or antagonistic in any way. I do generally like you. I enjoy watching your videos. I think we could probably get along if we hung out in person. I would love to, well, I don't think we could ever do a collab because, like, you just came to America. I would totally be open to doing any kind of collab with you if you were interested. This was just not a video you should have done. It's not the fact that you had offensive opinions, it's the fact that you kind of didn't know what you were talking about. So, as cringe as this is, Marcus, please educate yourself before you decide to tackle a topic as big and unknown as asexual.